In a week fraught with strained loyalties, hidden alliances, and raw emotion, Port Charles once again proved that secrets rarely stay buried, and desperation often leads to dangerous choices. As tensions escalated on all fronts, relationships were tested in ways that left lasting damage. What began as a simple quest for truth soon spiraled into a series of confrontations and confessions that no one could have anticipated. Nina Reeves found herself standing at the edge of a cliff, both metaphorically and emotionally. After the devastating fallout from her prior schemes and her estrangement from Willow and Michael, she had few allies left. With her reputation shredded and her access to her grandchildren cut off, Nina was desperate. But instead of turning to familiar faces or even neutral allies, she made a bold move. She approached someone no one would have expected, Tracy Quartermaine. The two women had little history of trust or cooperation, but Nina saw in Tracy something rare in Port Charles: brutal honesty and strategic cunning. Nina hoped Tracy's connections and influence might help rebuild the bridges she had burned, even if their alliance came at a steep personal price. Tracy, known for her ruthless pragmatism, didn't offer help out of kindness. She saw opportunity where others saw a sinking ship. In exchange for her assistance in navigating a path back into Willow's life, she demanded something Nina wasn't prepared for: leverage. Whether it was information on Sonny's business operations or dirt on Drew Kane, Tracy's interest wasn't emotional, it was tactical. Nina, cornered and emotionally exhausted, had to decide whether she was willing to trade pieces of her dignity for a sliver of maternal redemption. Meanwhile, Carly Spencer found herself in a position she never imagined, pleading with her own son. The powerful, proud woman who once commanded any room she walked into was now seated in the Corinthos kitchen, her voice trembling as she asked Michael for something he wasn't sure he could give: forgiveness. Their relationship had been strained ever since Carly's decisions, both personal and strategic, impacted his family. From her clashes with Nina to her relentless pursuit of protecting Sonny at all costs, Michael had seen his mother's choices as increasingly self-serving. But Carly wasn't pleading for herself this time. She was begging Michael to give Nina another chance, or at least to consider the impact his coldness was having on Willow. Carly had watched as her daughter-in-law suffered in silence, torn between her loyalty to Michael and her lingering desire for connection with the woman who gave her life. Carly wasn't absolving Nina, far from it, but she knew that forgiveness wasn't always about the person asking for it. Sometimes it was about the person holding the grudge, and what that grudge was doing to them. Michael listened, arms crossed and jaw tight, not because he agreed, but because part of him still remembered the mother who fought for him through every storm, even when he hated her for it. Across town, Drew Kane sat in his office, poring over reports that had recently landed on his desk, documents that didn't come through traditional channels. Someone on the inside, someone close to the inner workings of ELQ and the legal tangle he was now caught in, had delivered him a cache of information that could change everything. It was unclear whether this mystery source had altruistic motives or was merely setting the stage for their own power play, but the content was explosive. Buried within financial statements and old email threads was a breadcrumb trail leading back to a major cover-up, one that implicated a prominent Port Charles figure in manipulating the court system during Nina's SEC investigation. Drew knew he couldn't act on it yet. He needed confirmation, needed more than just a hint. But the temptation to blow the whole thing wide open was almost too much to bear. For a man who had once been used as a pawn in other people's wars, this was a rare moment of control. But control came with risk, and Drew had already lost too much. On the medical front, tensions flared between Portia Robinson and nearly everyone in her orbit. Still furious over the recent chaos involving Trina, and feeling shut out from decisions that directly affected her family, Portia's frustration boiled over. She confronted Curtis in the hospital lobby with a torrent of accusations, about his lack of transparency, about the danger he continually invited into their lives, about how much Trina had suffered while adults played their games. Portia's anger wasn't just about the past, it was about the looming sense that more danger was coming, and she was powerless to stop it. She had watched her daughter endure too much already, and the idea that Trina might again be caught in the crosshairs of someone else's vendetta was unbearable. Her instincts were screaming, and she no longer had the patience to be silent. Curtis, however, refused to match her rage with more fire. He stood firm, not defensive, and reassured Portia that he was doing everything in his power to protect their daughter. But he knew that words only went so far. Later that evening, he sat with Trina, just the two of them, and gently explained the threats he believed were still lingering in the shadows. He didn't want to frighten her, but he refused to underestimate her strength. Curtis had come to understand that Trina didn't need coddling, she needed truth, and she needed the knowledge that her father believed in her ability to survive and rise. Trina listened intently, torn between her desire to live a normal life and the creeping realization that, in Port Charles, normal didn't exist, not for long. Her father's words weren't empty reassurances. They were a promise. And for the first time in days, she believed him. As the week drew to a close, the landscape of Port Charles had subtly but powerfully shifted. Trusts were shaken, alliances formed in the unlikeliest of places, and beneath the surface of every seemingly calm interaction simmered the threat of revelation. In a town built on secrets, one thing was certain: those secrets never stay buried forever.